Hey guys, it's Josh. So I wanted to add a little something to this dating advice video. Hold up. Wanted to get that glare off the screen. Okay, so I wanted to add a little something to the dating advice video that I made earlier, in which I basically said that Generation Z's biggest problem, as far as being young men not being able to be attractive to the young women of Gen Z, is the fact that they don't fight their own battles. They run away or call the police or get a professor involved every time they have a potential fist fight on their hands or even a big argument. And women see that and they're turned completely off by that. And I don't understand why Gen Z doesn't understand that. Listen, I knew a couple of guys that would like run from their fights back when I was in high school. Man, I mean, no woman would go anywhere near them. I mean, as far they might get a woman occasionally that felt sorry for them to be their friend or whatever, but as far as dating, it wasn't happening. And their reputations were so like any guy who I've ever seen, and I've seen a handful of guys do this, where somebody wants to like fight them and they run to a teacher or to a professor if they're in college, or they call the police or anything. Their reputation is absolutely shot after that. Not just with women, but with other guys in general. After that, those guys who do that get bullied and picked on so much, it's not even funny. They have to pretty much leave town, move to another state, and start all over. And they kind of deserve that because they kind of brought that on themselves. Um, but that's what happens when you won't confront your own like confrontations and like you do stuff like that. I mean, it's your manhood is gone at that point. How you can win back your respect if you really want to, but you're going to have to do a lot of crazy stuff. You're going to have to basically spend the next year looking for reasons to get into fights with people and constantly kicking butt in order to get your reputation back from when when you ran to a professor from when that one guy wanted to fight you. That's how messed up that is. That's how bad doing stuff like that can hurt your reputation. And these young Gen Z guys don't really seem to understand that. And then they wonder why girls don't like them in a romantic way. It's, well, you're showing that you're cowardly. But I'm going to add a little something to this. Now, in the last video, I was talking about this in the context of being attractive to women. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the same stuff, but in the context of having some respect for yourself. See, the thing is, as far as, running and getting a professor every time you have a fight on your hands, you've got somebody bullying you, whatever it is, or calling the police when something like that happens or whatever. The thing is that you got to live with yourself. You got to be able to go home and look yourself in the mirror each night. When you're like shaving or brushing your teeth and all that stuff, the only person looking back at you in the mirror is you. You have to be able to look in your own eyes when you're doing this stuff and be proud of what you see. And you're not going to be proud of what you see if if you don't like fight your own battles and stand up to your own bullies. You're not going to be proud of what you see if you call the police every time you think you're about to get your butt kicked. You're not going to be proud of what you see if you run to a professor, like if you're in college, or you report someone to the school who you think is about to beat you up or been bothering you or whatever. You're not going to be proud of what you see. You're not going to respect yourself as a man because you know darn well you're not being a man. So you got to consider these things. It's beyond just, the advice I was given in the last video was in the context of girls, but you really shouldn't be manning up just for girls. You should be manning up just so that you have some so that you have some pride about yourself, so that you can look at yourself and have some pride and dignity when you look yourself in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? I can't even begin. I've got such this old school mentality. I can't even begin to understand the mentality of this guy's about to beat me up, call the cops. Hey, what the hell, man? How much of a wimp and a wuss can you possibly be? I can't even begin to understand that mentality. Listen, Mike Tyson could be on his way to my house right now to kick the snot out of me, and I wouldn't even consider calling the cops. I wouldn't even consider reporting him to anybody. Like, the thought literally wouldn't even cross my mind. As a matter of fact, Mike Tyson could be on his way to my house to whip my butt, and he could pick up Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe along the way, and all three of them could stomp the heck out of me. And I still wouldn't call the cops or report him to the college we go to or whatever. Like, it's just not in me. I've got too much self-respect for that. I got too much character for that. I don't understand the mentality of, run and get a professor every time you got a problem with another dude. You Gen Zers got to get past that, man. It's not that you're always looking for a fight, but if it comes to you, then it comes to you. Because eventually you're going to hit the real world, and those professors aren't going to be there for you. And there's going to be a time when the cops can't be there for you. You've got to develop some confidence that you are at least willing to hold your own when a threatening situation comes your way. You're not supposed to be depending on police and professors and all that for that sort of stuff, especially if you're a man. Especially if you're a man. Now, if you're a woman, I'll give you two exceptions. If a guy sexually assaults you, okay, it's fine to call the cops. Or if a guy's like your boyfriend, you live with your boyfriend and he beats the crap out of you, then it's okay to call the cops. But I struggle even in those situations because to me, I'm like, don't you have some male friends or some older brothers that can retaliate against the guy who sexually assaulted you? Do you really need the police? You know what I'm saying? But I'll give you a pass on that one. But even for women, like I've heard women up at the Iowa State University talking to each other, these college girls, and they will talk about a problem they're having with another girl. And I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I just hear conversations because I'm sitting within distance of them. And eventually the conversation will get to a point where the girl's like, yeah, so I reported her to the office. And I'm like, I stop and I go, wait, what? Is this girl admitting to all her girlfriends that she just snitched on another girl? And the other girls sit there and listen like that's okay. If I was on a date with that girl, I would get up and walk out as soon as she said that. You snitched on that girl? No, you don't ride with me and snitch. You don't do that. You're supposed to handle your own business with that girl. So yeah, no woman who's a snitch like that is ever going to be in a relationship with me. But it just amazes me how people think it's cool to do that these days. I just don't understand what happened to handling your own damn business. Pick up these if you got to. I mean, you should always try to work something out like a gentleman. But if you can't, and you got to use these, that's what you got to do. But bringing in the police or bringing in a professor, why? You'll never learn to hold your own if that's the route you go. Which means you'll always expect other people to fight your battles for you. Which means you'll never know a sense of individualism and freedom. Which means you can't project a sense of individualism and freedom onto your own children when you have children. It's not a good place to be. So be a man about your stuff. Hold your own. You know what I'm saying? You can have friends help you. That's fine. But I mean, as far as calling the cops, calling a professor or whatever, things like that, when you've got a potentially threatening situation on your hands, dude, you've got to learn to hold your own, especially if you're a man. That's all for tonight.